It's hard to believe it's only been 12 days since we reported on the first build of WipEout on Dreamcast, but on April 4th, jnmartin released the final build of his port, bringing a wealth of performance enhancements and quality of life options for players to enjoy. Let's start with the performance enhancements, because in the previous video I mentioned the stutter during later tracks in the game caused by significant drops in frame rate. This stutter seemed to occur during bends and turns, impacting gameplay at the worst time, but in the final build, this is gone. Completely gone. The game now runs at a rock solid frame rate on every track and it's a joy to play. When we boot up the final release, we can see several additions to the options menu and, more specifically, the video settings. As with the previous build, you can change the size of the on-screen HUD via the VI scale option, and you can turn the FPS counter on or off because hey, why not take a peek at some of the ridiculous FPS numbers this port can hit. In terms of new video options though, we have several to play around with, although I use the term play around loosely, because mixing these settings about can result in a hit to performance, which is why jnmartin has very kindly provided two sets of recommended settings, which I'll come back to in a moment. You can toggle the draw distance, enable or disable texture filtering, and choose which shader you'd like to use, PlayStation or PC. To my eyes, there wasn't a massive difference in quality on screen, and any impact comes more from the way the game displays the track details, thus impacting performance. Thankfully, using the PC shaders has little to no impact on performance compared to using PlayStation shaders. The final option, and the most noticeable in terms of on-screen impact, is the distance fade. Now, during development, which in this case means the last 12 days, a version of WipEout was tested which had fading enabled by default. This would, as the name suggests, fade in background objects and track details up ahead using a visual effect that looked more like fog. You can play around with the settings like I mentioned by increasing the draw distance so this fade occurs further ahead, but personally it's not something I like the look of or, being honest, felt was necessary. The game runs and plays beautifully on the stock settings that jnmartin has included. However, let's take a look at the two recommended settings that I mentioned earlier. The first is to set the draw distance to 0 and then use any combination of distance fade, choice of shader and texture filtering turned on. The second is distance fade disabled and using any draw distance between the setting of 0 and 3. I ran the game with the second settings, draw distance pushed to 3, distance fade disabled, PC shaders and texture filtering enabled, and it ran amazingly. I vaguely remember encountering one dip in frame rate on the Aridos 4 track, but that's it. In terms of controls, jnmartin has enabled analog stick support for full analog steering, which was missing in the previous build, and the air brakes have been tweaked, making them feel far stronger and more responsive. I did joke with jnmartin on the Discord server that I'd uploaded my last WipEout video about 45 minutes before he announced that he'd found the code for the air brakes. There's also a bonus section on the menu which allows you to unlock Rapier class straight away for faster racing, plus you can unlock the bonus tracks too, all with a simple toggle on screen. Superb. WipEout on Dreamcast also features full VMU support, with saves taking up 6 blocks on your VMU. It even has a lovely animated logo when you view the save in the memory manager of your console, and to complete the experience, there's even a Psygnosis logo on the screen of your VMU during play. It's this attention to detail that sets jnmartin apart from most other homebrew developers, because he really does go that extra mile to give players a great overall experience. Included with the build are cover art assets for those of you using OpenMenu on your GDEMU, provided by longtime friend and our Akira All Access member Stiff Peaks, who has been credited in the game itself for his work. You can choose from a Japanese version, as well as 2 PAL and US variants. I went with the Japanese version since I've got a Japanese Dreamcast, and I think it looks absolutely brilliant on the open menu games list. I have to admit, It was pretty cool to see the attract mode run and see Stiff's name pop up on screen. Nice one, mate. Back to the game itself though, it's insane how quickly this has all come together. It looks amazing, it plays brilliantly, it performs nigh on flawlessly, it's got content galore, and the biggest praise I can give it is that it feels like a full retail Dreamcast release. WipEout doesn't feel like a homebrew game, it's that polished a release. All the footage that you've seen here was captured on a real Dreamcast console with a GDEMU installed, so you get an idea for yourself just how well it runs on stock hardware. If you've made it to the end, thanks as always for watching, and thank you again to JN Martin for again gifting Dreamcast fans with another superb project. When you see behind the scenes at how passionate, perfectionist and driven the guy is, you really do gain a whole new level of appreciation for these projects. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the final build of WipEout on the Sega Dreamcast. This has been James the SEGAHolic, and until next time, we'll see you on the Sega side.